It's tough. I think we played the way we wanted to play. I think we created some good opportunities on goal, and when you have two goals called back, um, it just feels like no matter what we did, it wasn't going to be enough on the day. Um, but the guys, you know, I just have a more macro look at it and what the group was able to achieve this year, and it coming down to two penalty kicks, um, it just feels wrong. Um, and maybe there's another way to do these where it's um where you just don't play 34 games and losing PKs. I don't know. Obviously, again, just with the way we set up and the way the guys fought back to get in the game, the you know, even in tough moments, we stayed true to who we were as a team. And that brings a lot of solace to the moment, but obviously difficult to go out in this form. But that's football, I guess.
As far as the performance in the first half, it looked like it might get away from you there a couple times. Zac was big. I don't know, it's just guys grinding. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, no, again, I think Zac has come up trumps in this playoff series and kept us in games, and really that's what the expectation is for all the players in all the positions. Hey, if you want to win games, you got to be clinical on the back end and make plays, and you got to be clinical on the attacking end and make plays, and that's what sees you through. Unfortunately, I think we left a little bit on the table just in front of goal, and I think, um, but again, it's the hardest thing to do in the game. So, I look at the effort, the game plan, and oftentimes, especially when it's such an emotional uh moment, it's not always going to go your way, and you got to make plays. And the guys in the back did a great job, and the guys did a great job up front to put themselves in positions. And I think the only thing lacked was the final product.
Anderson starting over Chicho might raise some eyebrows among fans, but late in the game when they have the lead and they're really packed in and the space is really tight, where Chicho's technical ability pays off. Ian Crooks setting up Eneli for that goal. That was
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a great combination play. And then Emeka again, you can put him in any position, and he's gonna come up smelling like roses. And again, that was the play that we needed. I wouldn't chalk it up as to a right outside back in the three being the guy that does it. But again, and then as far as starting the game, one of the things that we want to do is keep their back line honest and stretch. And I think the first half was a little bit of softening. And then depending on how the game went, we knew we always could bring Chicho on, and he would thrive in these tight spaces, and he did that. So again, from a game plan perspective, I wouldn't have changed a thing. What I'd like to change is the two goals that were called back, and figure out how we can get those back.
5 of 10 on penalties over the 2 games. That's a pretty low conversion rate from the spot. When you reflect on that, is there anything to be done different other than it's just a moment and guys either deliver or don't?
Again, we've trained penalties ad nauseum, but there's no way to mimic walking up 50 yards, and we do that. We walk the long walk in training, but there's not 20,000 people sitting there, and there's not the pressure of because it's training, and if you miss it, it's not a big deal, and there's no way to mimic it. And so it's really about the moment. And I've been in these moments. They're not easy. And they were better at penalty kicks than we were, and that's what decided our fate this year.
That's 3 years in a row. It's been penalties. It's actually 4. You won the first round, but the first round every year you've been coached, it's come down to penalties. I want to ask you if there's anything you do about it, but I don't know what they're going to do about it. But that's just the format in life.
Yeah, it is, and there's nothing you can do. You don't recruit players to take penalty kicks. It's a 12-yard shot unopposed, and what makes them difficult is the moment.
When it comes down to those penalties, can can that, yeah, I mean, you talk about the 12-yard block up, can that walk beforehand be sometimes harder than actually getting down and taking the kick? Because that's something that does get trained over and over.
Yeah, no, it's hard. And like I said, I've been in those moments, and for me, it was all about visualization. So one of the things that we worked on in training was to prepare, even if you don't have the crowd, is to get into a breathing rhythm, take a deep breath before so get into a routine to where you can mimic as much as being comfortable as you can. But there's a lot of noise that goes on in your head, and I think that's the kicker. And there's it's crazy. It's just strange to me that you play 34 games and just PKs. I don't know. It just feels like I don't know.
I did want to follow up something on Emeka because obviously he gets the Golden Knight, but it feels like he has been one of those players during this back half of the season where he's been in the right place at the right time so often.
Mhm.
And that has been a little lacking with a lot of this team. I mean, thinking like the back half of the season.
Yeah.
In particular, is there something he does in there that can maybe, I don't know, sort of tack on to the other players, sort of be contagious? I don't know the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, no,
Transfer to the other guy?
well, I think in particular, Emeka came in as like an attacking midfielder. And over the course of his time here, we've played him at right back, we've played him in the middle. And one of his strengths is carrying the ball and being aggressive with his dribble and breaking lines with the dribble. And, and I think it is a contagion. Again, third man running in football is the hardest thing to defend. And he just, again, Emeka is a very special player in that he can play multiple positions. He's great in the final third. But I just feel like he's brave in his character as a strong person, as a believer in himself. Helps manifest these moments for him. I think if you're timid, if you're scared, you'd never go into but that, he gets the ball and drives, dishes, gets it back, finishes. I mean, that's and I think that's what I'm referencing when I'm saying making plays. It's not about, we can talk about getting in these spots to be dangerous. But then what happens when you get in those spots? You got to make plays. And tonight, Emeka made a great play for us.
So it seemed like in the first half, the guys almost seemed nervy. There were a lot of guys falling down. There were a lot of shanked passes. And in the second half, they came out like steely-eyed missile men.
Mm-hmm.
So is that how it seemed to you? And if it was, what did you say to them? What changed?
Yeah, no, again, it's really interesting from a coaching perspective is when you train something, it's almost like they force themselves to see it, even if it's not there. So one of the things that we identified with Minnesota in the first couple games, or the last couple games that we played against them was, we had a lot of guys looking for the ball between lines, but we had no one stretching. Right. And they were susceptible when we played in between the lines and it went back out to the right outside back that their center back would go with our 10. Well, then we wanted our 9 to run it. And so I think, again, training it this week, it's almost they forced that moment over and over again. And then it was obviously a loss of possession. So at halftime, it was basically, we got to play the way we normally do, which is looking to break lines. Now we've softened them up, like their back lines now thinking that we're going to go long. Now you play in between the lines. And I think that's the evolution of a team is to understand what the game is giving you, not so much forcing what we worked on this week and putting that into context. And I think in the second half, there's a good balance of running in behind and playing those balls, but more importantly, finding those gaps in between the lines and our pivots running through. And and I thought then we switched it up and we went to one pivot and played with 3 10s, and I think that asked them a lot of questions. And again, I think we created a couple of good opportunities again in the second half, minus the set piece goals. And I think just unlucky to not finish those.
It almost looked like we were playing a diamond when you made those changes in the 60th minute.
Yeah.
Walk us through that substitution window.
Yeah. So again, bringing, I think when you're going to a 3-1, I think it's important to have a pivot in there that has a range of passing, because now you can, you know, Nelson's a great passer of the ball. He can break lines, but he can also hit the long balls. And then Crooksey was playing as a 10 in possession, but defending. And so I think the nuance of it was, how do we keep our defending shape, not compromising that, and playing in a 3-1-3 with two wing backs and a striker. And I think it posed a lot of questions. So again, I think the evolution of this group is having that flexibility to go to that, to impose yourselves on games, or in this case, to come back from a 1-0 deficit.
Caleb, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about two guys, starting with Chicho. He doesn't score in the run of play, but makes both his penalties over these last two games. What does that just kind of say about his mentality and kind of killer instinct to just show up when it matters most?
Yeah, no, I think, again, Chicho, in front of goal, he's a killer. You know, I think what's eluded him in the past, you know, few weeks, has been getting in those spots to be able to do that. But as far as, you know, taking PKs, he's number one on you know, number one to step up. And for me, I haven't seen him miss a PK since he's been here. So the confidence that, you know, that I have with Chicho in front of goal is second to none.
And then lastly, I wanted to ask you about Matt Crooks. I think he had probably, you know, one of, if not his best game in RSL uniform tonight. How can a performance like this maybe spur a guy like him forward heading into next season?
Yeah, no, I think Crooksy had a great performance. He was a willing runner in the attack, getting behind their back line in the first half. Second half, really doing a lot of conducting from the middle of the field, and obviously combining on Emeka's goal. So again, a really, really good performance. He was everywhere. He was everywhere on both sides of the ball. I think it speaks volumes of the level that he's played at. And again, I think just moving forward, just the different ways we can utilize Crooksy, because he's so rangy without the ball, and he's clever with the ball, and then not to mention the set pieces and what he brings on in that department. But I thought he had a fantastic game.
Awesome. Thanks, Pablo.
DJ.
Pablo, as you inevitably look to build a roster next season, does Jayden Brown enter in that conversation as a third, fourth, or fifth center back, given what you've seen from him in the last 3 games playing out of position?
That's a great question. I said the same thing to the coaches. I've been very, I don't want to say surprised, but the way he's conducted himself as a center back, it wasn't in the cards when we brought him over. Whether he's on the left side or the right side, he's a competitor, and I think when you see him attack head balls, he attacks it like no one else. He gets a body first and then he goes for the head. He's really, his timing on tackles is really good. And he's just reliable. When he's back there, you don't feel like anything the other team can throw at us is going to confuse him, is going to make him doubt. This is a young man that came to us and was struggled physically to play at the tempo that we ask. And so credit to Javane for really getting that part right, but then also coming up and playing some fantastic performances out of position that looked like, to your point, it was a position that he's played for a long time. And so really happy for him as well. And just saying that, I'm thinking about all the guys and their performances in the last couple of games, and I'm going, man, it just feels weird to be out, given that there were some really top performances from a lot of players. But it's football.
I just hope that I can, like you said, just find that form, find that confidence. I felt really in the zone, as you probably can see, and everything was very clear to me. And I hope that, after those 2 games and this offseason, continue to get stronger and get better, and bring that into the Champions League, hopefully in January and February.
Good, thanks.
I know Jayden Brown is right back, but can you speak about his performance in front of you as a center back over these last 3 games?
Yeah, very impressive to be able to play multiple positions in difficult circumstances. Thought he did a really good job and added a bit of physicality, athleticism to our back line that really helped us in some good moments in the last couple games.
Sean?
It just feels like forever this team keeps going out on penalty kicks. And I know it's not obviously anything that you can necessarily do as the keeper, but is there something to be said about the fact that you guys keep getting to these shootouts and then obviously kind of fall past it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean the mentality is definitely different with penalties on the line right after. I think if that game goes extra time or the first game, who knows what would happen. But from me personally, with 10, 12 minutes left, you're thinking, let's get the penalties. You don't want to lose, in that 10 to 12 minutes. So my mentality is a bit different. But we pressed for it and we went for it. And, maybe if we had extra time, we find a goal and win the game. But that's the way the playoffs are set up, and it hasn't been good for us.
It did feel like the team maybe deflated a little bit about 5 minutes into the half when they scored, but then Emeka's goal with a moment of brilliance, I think, from Crooksy and Chicho got a touch. A couple guys got a touch, I can't remember it all. What was kind of the feeling right after that? Did it feel like, okay, you're right back in this game? Because for that whole first half, felt like you were very much in it, and then obviously dipped down and then kind of came back in so much.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say we played bad in the first half. I think it just was frustrating, like Minnesota has been over the last 2 games for us, and really 3 games for us. And them scoring almost, whether they took their foot off the gas a little bit, it created more space for a lot of our players, and we were getting in spots that we just weren't getting in before the goal. So, in a way, it kind of got us playing better and getting more chances and more confidence. And like I said, we scored a great goal there, and had another one off sides and had created enough chances to win this game in regulation.
What does Emeka bring to this team overall? Because he played 2 positions today, and I was actually talking to Maddie a little bit about this. I can't figure out if he's a better center midfielder or right back, or he's played like 3 other positions, I think. So I guess the answer is just yes.
Yeah, he's a great soccer player. He's an engine. I think him and Brian Ojeda in the middle have been an engine for us all season long. And I think if you ask Emeka, he likes playing in the middle. I think he's more comfortable there. But in this situation, him playing as a right back that can go forward and get on the ball a little bit more, ended up helping him and helping the team in the last 30, 40 minutes.
Anything? Caleb, you have anything for Zac?
Yeah, just real quick. You mentioned there, getting back to playing in January and February. After a loss like this, is it kind of just like you just want to get right back out there and just get another go at it?
No, my body's hurting a little bit, so the time off will be much needed. But I think as the playoffs go on, that fire will start to burn again, and after a couple of weeks, I certainly will be looking forward to getting back for preseason.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Zac, last one from me, just along that line. Like, does the prospect of playing in CONCACAF next year provide any future fire, you think?
I hope so. It should be exciting. I haven't played in CONCACAF in a while. I think it's been a while for RSL, so it should be fun and exciting. And I think there should be a good fire burning under this team going into next year, and being able to start with a tournament like that of the magnitude that it is to kick us off for a strong start next year.
All right, man. Thanks for everything this year, and appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough to say. I feel like it was a pretty even game. I think we gave up maybe a little bit too much in the first half, just some mistakes that we had, just defensive errors, but they didn't capitalize on that. I think we really started. I think we got more comfortable once they scored their goal. We were able to, possess a little bit more in their half and be more threatening in their half. So I think maybe just try and impose ourselves on the game that way. in the first half, not waiting until they scored and then using the last 30 minutes to try and do that. We just try and do that earlier. So
As far as the goal, can you walk us through what happened, the build up to that, how you saw that play unfold?
yeah, I mean, I got switched out to right back, and since they sit really deep, so kind of it allows me as a right back to go much higher and kind of even sometimes find the half spaces to try and receive the ball. So I think Jigla just played me, and I was kind of in the half space, and I was able to turn and look forward, and saw Crooksy in between the lines, and I knew that if I could play it to Crooks, just continue my run forward. Chicho was there too. That even if it wasn't like a perfect pass, like it was gonna bounce back somehow. So I just played it to Crooksy, continued my run on. Chicho then hit Crooks again and back off to me, and then I was in front of goal. And Dwayne's a great keeper, so I just slid it on the ground. I think between his legs, I was looking, it was open a little bit, and then went in the back of the net.
What kind of a feeling did that goal bring for the team? Because it did seem like their goal kind of was a little bit deflating a little for, a second on the field. Came a little bit against the run of play, good counter on their end. And after all that work, you guys are still down 1-0 to come back and score there. Did that sort of bring the team back?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because they're a fantastic defensive team. I think they've only given up before this game 1 goal, maybe in the last like 5 or 6. So, after they scored, it's obviously a little bit flattening because they don't give up many goals. They don't give up many chances. So then when I was able to bag that goal, I think it gave us much needed confidence that, we can go on, score another one. Should have had one before, should have had one after. Doesn't happen, but, it is what it is.
You guys have gone into penalty shootouts probably way more than you want to at this point. Is there a trick to kind of getting over that hump to getting better at penalties? I don't even know if getting better at penalties is a thing, or is it just keep taking them and taking them and
I don't even think there's like a little you can keep taking them in training. That doesn't replicate the pressure you feel when you step up in a game and you have 20,000 people. Like it's just not the same. Like you could practice them as many times as you can. Step up in a game and look at the crowd, hear the crowd noise, and it might not be the same. So like to improve on that, I don't even know. It's like a flip of a coin. We go into another PK shootout, we win it. We don't, like, it's just like hard to really tell, hard to really improve on. I don't know. Yeah. So.
Maddie, anything?
That was a spicy finish when you nutmegged Dane St. Clair. Does that bring you back to your college days when you were playing higher up the pitch? Is that something we can expect to see from you more next year, do you think?
Good question. I'm not even sure, honestly. Definitely brought me back to kind of my college days where I played more as a, winger, striker kind of. Next year, I have no clue. I do think though that I think as the year progressed and we have a lot of the ball usually. I think a thing that I can work on is trying to late runs forward into the box, as a pivot, or if I'm playing right back, I think something that I can definitely work on because their spaces are there, especially with how we play and how we possess the ball and how we try and pin teams in. I think late runs can be something that I could definitely, work on and something to look forward to in next year.
Can I ask, do you have a preferred position between playing that pivot or playing right back?
I would say pivot just because I played that this whole year. You know what I mean? The 33, 34. Like, if you would have asked me last year, I might have said like, oh, maybe right back because I played mostly right back. But after playing pivot for so long and getting so used to it, I think this year I've kind of got more comfortable playing there. So yeah.
Thanks, Emeka. Playing outstandingly there, by the
I
way.
appreciate that.
Go ahead, Carson, if you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hey, Emeka. At the beginning of the season, we kind of talked about what your goals were for this season. You said you just want to play as much as you can. You say it's a long season. There's 34 games. How many of your goals do you think you accomplished throughout the season? And how satisfied are you? And do you think you could have accomplished even more?
I think looking back at it now, I think you never want to be like totally satisfied with how something goes if you don't win at all. But I think personally, I did say I wanted to play as many games as I could, and I think I pretty much achieved that. So I'm definitely happy on that front. pretty decently satisfied with my performances in most of the games. I think, but and then at the end of the day, you know, just really disappointed in not being able to advance past this first round, 2 penalties. So, I mean, specific individual goals, I think relatively satisfied, but I think there's always more to achieve. So I think just looking forward to next year to see what else, you know, I can try and accomplish and help this team, you know, go further in the playoffs, CONCACAF, Leagues Cup, whatever competition that we're in.
Caleb, last question.
Nothing here. Thanks, Emeka. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, everybody. We'll be back in Salt Lake, and we'll get you the exit media meeting schedule for later this week in Harriman. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Mike.
Emeka.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trey.
I'm not gonna- You can't say it.